Hey everybody, welcome to Help Solve the Case. I'm Christine Burke, and we are here going through the book Broken Plea by Christopher Whitcomb, a former FBI agent who has a ton of questions about the case. Now today we are finishing, well, I hope we're finishing, I'm not sure because this is like a lot here. We are talking in chapter 5, and we are getting to the point right now that made me want to look at this book because he's got questions about the chain of custody. Apparently, he's done several interviews. Not exactly sure. I haven't seen him in person. I just knew because of my investment in forensic genetic genealogy in the case and my background as a retired police detective and sergeant, I knew I had to check it out, and it has been nothing short of, I was going to say ridiculous, but unbelievable, mind-blowing so far. And Christopher Whitcomb, man, he leaves these, what do they call those, breadcrumbs or whatever? But it's kind of like that, but then just when you think you've exhausted an area, man, he hits you right back in the face with something that just blows your mind again. So we had been talking about the sheath, the infamous, as the expert calls it, the oh my goodness, scabbard. Okay, but we have been talking about the sheath. And if you thought last episode's thing about was it in the bed, was it not on the bed, was it in the floor, was the picture right, who had it right, did somebody plant it there? Now we're going to talk about this chain of custody, okay? And Turvey, Dr. Turvey, who is the defense expert, was talking about the fact that this sheath, should not be in court. Like, why was it even in court? And again, Kohberger, I gotta adjust my chair. Kohberger took a plea. And so a lot of this stuff hasn't been seen. And so we're questioning it like, where has this been all this time? And we're saying, why would he take a plea? And would this have survived trial? I'm at a loss for words, which doesn't happen a lot. Okay. So, Turvey was talking to Christopher Whitcomb, the author of the book, and he's talking about this knife sheath, this scabbard. And Whitcomb says an apparent fabricated chain of custody. And I'm like, because that, like, none of those words are good. All right. And Turvey had said somebody placed it there in the bed as opposed to the floor. And it could have been somebody placed it on the floor. It's a little unclear because the reports are confusing. And this is what we've been dealing with. Like, we don't know, which side is up. Okay. I will shut up and we will get into it. But I want to set the tone for where we're going with this. Because, I just keep saying, and you think you've done it all, and then wait, there's more. Okay. So, Turvey and Whitcomb are having this conversation about this potentially questionable, could it be fabricated evidence, chain of custody? And all of a sudden, according to Whitcomb, Turvey produces a photograph that the public has never seen. It's a brown paper bag, he says, that has been folded flat and sealed with red and white tape labeled evidence. I know that stuff well. He says the picture says the bag is hand dated 11/16/2022. Remember, our incident is the 13th, and we've had some questions with the videos of when the items were taken. We had a handwritten note. Then we had, I think it was a December 6th official evidence collection report. And then we've got the knife sheath on the floor, the knife sheath on the bed. And now we have this 11/16/2022 date. And Whitcomb says it's signed by someone who appears to be Shannon Almaden. He goes on further. This is Turvey, apparently, that there are, this is Whitcomb referring to what is in the photo. 3 white stickers affixed to the bag. The first at the top says chain of custody and shows a transfer date on 12/16/2022 from Candy Florio to C. McKenna. On the line below that, the form documents the same day transfer from C. McKenna to a person only identified by the initials of TDO. And Whitcomb says, I don't know if that's a guess. He says the penmanship, they can't tell. Then, okay, so we got that label. Then, beneath the label marked chain of custody is a second sticker titled Idaho State Police, and it says place barcode here. Though the barcode is actually placed at the bottom of the bag. We didn't have no barcodes back in my day, the dinosaur days. Okay. The barcode sticker. Now, as he said, the barcode or the barcode sticker? I'm assuming we'll have to guess. The barcode sticker is the one at the top. It says M2022-4841, which could be the case number. Lab item 1, bio, suspected bio stain, in parentheses, SWBS for swabs, / miscellaneous items, it's abbreviated. And then it says in all caps, K-bar sheath with USMC logo. And then after that, the label says Moscow Police Department in all caps. And then it says agency case 22-MO9903. Now, I'm wondering if the M2022-4841 is because Idaho State Police collected it. And that's their case number, the assist to Moscow PD. And the 22-MO9903 is the Moscow, Idaho case number. So then he says he's going back to the label above. Okay, I believe that's the beginning label. It's confusing. Someone has handwritten case number D22-30, followed by description knife sheath. Offense date 11/13/2020 or 11/13/22, subject unknown. Okay. So then it has a chain of custody portion apparently on this bag. Okay? Sometimes you get evidence bags that are pre-printed. They're like, well, they can be plastic too, depending on what kind of evidence you're putting where. But you get those brown paper. They're like lunch bags. That you got big ones, little ones, like grocery bags, little ones. And they're pre-printed with spots you can write on. So I'm not sure. Now, according to Whitcomb, he says Turvey, Dr. Turvey, is focused on this portion right here. And Whitcomb is describing their conversation, and he says, so it's a bag with a chain of custody form, like nothing we ain't seen a million times. And Turvey says, so I'm going to do a little exercise. How many people, according to this chain of custody, have handled this item of evidence? How many different names? Okay? So let's see. It looks like Detective Talbot picked it up at the scene. We believe he's the Idaho State Police guy. And then he gave it to Detective Payne. I think we read a report that he turned that stuff in late at the night. Then Detective Payne gave it to evidence. Usually you throw it in a slot. Or I think I remember in one of the reports that I read, Detective Payne said he put it in for temporary holding, and then it got put into evidence. And then I'm assuming this is Corporal Willerfawn took it. And then Corporal Willerfawn took it to Corporal Turrentine. And then Corporal Turrentine took it to ISP Forensic Sciences. That's probably the lab. Okay, so it probably got, and I don't know how close the Idaho State Police lab is to the Moscow PD police station, if they have like a satellite there or lab or whatever. From what we've learned, the Idaho State Police runs everybody's lab for the entire state. So his question is, how many? 1, 2, what did he say? How many people have handled it? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got Candy, that's 5, right? And then McKenna's 6. And then we don't know what TDO is. So there's 6 or 7, we think. You follow? What do you think? 6 or 7? Okay. Now, Whitcomb says he got 6 on the forms plus the name on the bag. That's 7. And Turvey says yes. Almadent. Oh, did I see Almadent? Did I miss Almadent? Oh, yes, I forgot Almadent. Okay, so that would be 7 or 8 because we don't know what TDO is. Okay, now, Whitcomb says 7. And, or he says 6 plus the name on the bag, Almadant. And then Turvey says, yes, 7. Almadant, Florio, McKenna, Talbot, Payne, Willerfawn, and Turrentine. Okay. They say, it's not unusual to find 7 names on one piece of evidence. It goes in and out. You've got the officer that collects it at the scene. Then it might go to a detective in the detective's car. Then it goes to evidence. Then sometimes in a big agency, they have the detective that checks it in. But in this case, it went to Moscow PD probably first. Then Idaho State Police might have picked it up. So there could legitimately be a lot of people on it. Then when it comes in and out for testing, you got more people. Okay? So he's saying, Whitcomb is saying, to have 2 separate chain of custody forms is strange to have the two portions of it. But in this case, a brown paper bag, remember I told you some of them are pre-printed, marked with a name that does not appear on either of the 2 chain of custody forms. It seems to be a real problem that the date on the bag reads 11/16/2022, 3 days after the evidence was supposedly bagged. So it got to Idaho State Police on 11/16, but it was collected by Talbot at the scene. Remember? Okay. So I'm just checking this here because it depicts a brown paper bag, folded flat, sealed. The bag itself is hand dated 11/16. Okay, so I'm just wondering if because it went, is his signature on it? I gotta work my magic here. The barcode sticker chain of custody portion. Okay, those, it doesn't sound like those are initials. It sounds like that is a typed form. So I'm wondering if, hold on, we're going to have show and tell. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Just for a matter of explanation, as an example, we are using a Subway bag. We're using a brown paper bag because it has biological material on it. Okay? So let's say we'll use our handy dandy highlighter. We put, Detective Talbot is going to put his sheath in the bag. Okay? It may, I got writing on there, it may or may not be sealed by Talbot at the seam. Okay? At the house. Then we have our other bag. And look, I found a lollipop. Then this bag, our bag, goes into the Idaho State Police bag, which might be different, okay? Because I've seen this happen. Moscow PD might have their own kind of bag, and Idaho State Police might have their own bag. I don't know why Detective Talbot would not have put it in his Idaho State Police bag if he was the one that checked it. I'm just talking through this. So this bag might have said 1113 when Detective Talbot took it. And then Detective Payne might have signed this one and put it into the Moscow PD evidence. And then Corporal Willerfon, if that's a he, she, whoever that is, works at Moscow PD, would have said, oh, this needs to go to Idaho State Police. And typically these labs, they have runs once a week, twice a week, every day, depends on how busy they are. And so this bag, the Moscow on-site scene bag, went up to, as we see here, Idaho State Police Forensic Sciences. And then when they got it, they put it in their own bag. Could be. Could be. It's happened, okay? So, that could explain the date discrepancy, okay? But Whitcomb continues. He says he immediately, okay, so let me back up. Turvey says, he's talking to Whitcomb. Turvey says, first, we need to know that this is actually from this case, Turvey said. Moscow Police Department, there it is. This is the knife sheath collected on November 13th, 2022. Taking from the chain of custody sticker, okay? And Whitcomb says, well, what about Detective Talbot's December 6th reports that he stated the sheath was seized by C. McKenna, not Candy Florio or Shannon Amidon. Okay, those are the names that are on the bag that we can see. Okay, we don't know if there's a baby bag in there. Okay? So Whitcomb's like, well, how did these other people get on it? And I thought McKenna took it. Now, he says he didn't mention, this is Whitcomb, he didn't mention that Talbot documented the involvement of ISP detectives Jake Schwecke, Gideon Roberts, Hugh Powell, and Dollar and Gilbertson. Remember, there was a report that said they were talking about the times that they were there. There's also mention, according to Whitcomb, of ISP, that's Idaho State Police Forensic Scientists Jenny Ayers, Carrie Hogan, Tara Martinez, and Wyatt Berry, MPD Evidence Technician Tim Smaldridge, and ISP Trooper Kristen Noah. It's a lot of people at the party. And Whitcomb says, at no time did Detective Talbot or anyone at the MPD or ISP ever mention anyone named Florio or Amadon. Okay? So, I was thinking, again, following my theory, we can all have theories. We're going to prove or disprove them. If the baby bag was in here and it went to ISP, this baby bag went to ISP, Florio could have put it in the ISP bag. Maybe they have different bags from the scene to the formal locker storage at the lab, okay? And so Florio, because every time, hopefully this isn't too loud, every time you seal something, you initial it. Let me show you this. I'll show you with our Subway bag, okay? We're going to use our little cheap Dollar Tree tape. I hope that's going to be long enough. And we'll pretend it's red evidence tape. And the red evidence tape is pretty cool. It's annoying, but it's pretty cool because it rips if you try to take it off, okay? Okay, so I sealed, and it goes around to the back, okay? So I sealed it. It's not sticking too well, but we're going to play along. We're doing show and tell. And just so you can see it, I'm going to write my name. Okay. Can you see the pen? Okay. It like a mark or whatever, it works better, but it's the Dollar Tree tape is shiny and it's not the same thing, but you get it, okay? So it is sealed up. So every time, if I was to test this and it was left in this form, they teach you want to leave, we're going to get a little evidence lesson. You leave the original tape and you go in a different area, okay? So I may, see, okay? So I may go in a different area here. Say I'm going to be the lab tester person. And we got our original tape down here. I'm going to come over here. See, it's completely different. And I'm going to take it out this way and I'm going to work on it. Okay, and then once I've done worked on it, I'm going to use my same red evidence tape that we're pretending. And I'm going to seal it up. And I'm going to initial it. Okay. So now we have original. So this would have been, follow along, Talbot. And then whoever worked on it. Okay, that's kind of how it goes. So every time somebody goes into it, you keep a different part of it. Now, because Talbot supposedly collected it, forget about the McKenna issue there for a minute. They might have, like I said, because it was at Moscow PD overnight, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Goodness. Okay. They might have just put it in a different bag. We don't know. Okay. So we're going to try to figure this out. Again, this is what happens. Trying to interpret this stuff from the reports. So, Dr. Turvey is saying, what matters is that we have one handwriting, and we don't know what's in the bag because it's sealed, okay? So let me back up a minute. So when Idaho State Police, if they followed our theory, they're going to get the bags. And it wouldn't have the handles on it. Okay, we didn't have the handles, but we're just doing show and tell here, okay? So they're going to make sure all the edges are covered. It's getting messed up, but you get what I'm saying if the middle thing wasn't there. Okay, they're going to seal it up. It's not sticking, sorry, but you get it. Okay, so this is sealed and they signed it. Okay, so what he's saying, Turvey is saying, we have one handwriting up here from Florio to McKenna, and then McKenna gives it to somebody else, which initials aren't even legible. And he said that's the first label. Okay. And there's some language here, if you're reading the book, which I suggest you read the book. Then it says, we can't even read it, but now we're going to go down to the label that says chain of custody. Now, back in the dinosaur days, we used to have, let me take this off, it looks terrible, carbon forms, press hard 5 copies. And when we would put our evidence in, we would put that form with it. We, as the officer, would take 1 copy off and put it on our evidence. And the rest, the other form, would go to records. And the form had lines on it. It was like a lined piece of evidence form. It didn't say chain of custody. It said evidence log or whatever, okay? They also have a book in the evidence lab. Well, back in the day they had a book. Now it's all computerized, okay? So everything would get logged in. All right. So Turvey seems to be hitting on the fact that instead of this form now, this carbon form, they have this sticker that substitutes for the form. And that's kind of cool because it's stuck to the thing. So instead of that, we have, this form stuck on here. Oh, I'm breaking my bag. Okay. You get the gist. Okay. So now there's this form on here. I don't know why I'm sneezing. Sorry. So he says, okay, so since it says chain of custody, we're going to refer to this. Okay. And there's some language, which Whitcomb says, Turvey's a forensic scientist, but he's passionate too. And I love that because I'm passionate about the truth and justice and the whole thing. And this is a death penalty case. And 4 people got murdered. And by God, you got to get it right. That's my school. Dinosaur Day Coppin. Yep, that's me, baby. Okay. So now this is Turvey again. So now we've got 6 people on here. We've got our Talbot. I mean, it's right here. But Talbot, Payne, Willerfon, Turntine, Almadant, Florio, and McKenna. So he says, but how many forms of handwriting on this actual chain of custody form? The one in the middle that says chain of custody. So I'm guessing he's saying why are they signing it all over, not on the chain of custody form? And he says, one, how many forms? So he's talking about different types of signatures. So he says, one, all the names, dates, and other information appear to be written by the same person. That's what Whitcomb says. Turvey says, exactly. So I want you to understand this is a problem. It's a significant problem for the prosecution. Now, let's walk through this. This is a little boring, but I want to make sure what he's alleging here, okay? Are they documenting the chain of custody, or are they signing the chain of custody? Okay? Because we have, whose signature is on here? We have Shannon Avedon in handwriting, okay, on 11/16. We have Candy Florio to C. McKenna. And then McKenna went to somebody, TDO. So, if our theory, and again, we're talking through this, if our theory, we're not saying he's right or wrong, whatever. If our theory that our bag came in Moscow PD, ISPFS. Okay, so now it's in the mail chute at ISP. And it comes in, and let's say it has the sticker on it, handwritten by the same person, which could be Turrentine. And he's prepared it. He's in evidence. He's the transporter. Okay? He's taken it from Moscow to ISP. So, he wrote the names. And again, I'm just walking through this, like how it normally works. So he's going to say, because it's leaving Moscow PD. So he's documenting the chain of custody from Moscow PD, things that could be on here, or on a report, because they handle everything electronically now, which I don't agree with. I like it old school. I want to see a signature on a piece of paper, okay? And the signature on a piece of paper is different than when you go into the evidence. I mean, you still need the signature on the piece of paper or in the log, but it's different than testing the item, okay? The transferring of the item is different than the opening and testing of the item. So let's say that when Corporal Willerfon, and we're assuming he's taking it because he's in evidence, or he's prepping it like you prepare a UPS package, he's prepping it to go to ISP. So the information he has is Talbot had it, gave it to Payne, which we've heard, who put it in evidence. He said he put it in the night storage. Then Willerfon on the 16th, I'm trying to think what days of the week it is getting it ready. So he puts the sticker on there, and he lists the chain of custody up to the point that he got it. Okay? Then ISP, I'm assuming it's Forensic Services, gets it. And Almondent gets it, and she signs it in to ISP. And then it went to Candy Florio to see McKenna. And then whatever TDO is, we don't know what that is. If that's a person or to be tested. It could be trace evidence. I mean, we don't know. Okay? So, that kind of makes sense to me. Hopefully I explained it okay. I mean, we don't know, but it kind of makes sense, okay? Now, we're going back to, we still have this issue that Whitcomb says, I immediately asked Turvey about the fact that in Detective Talbot's December 6 reports, remember, he wrote the formal report later, he had his two-page handwritten notes. He says the sheath was seized by C. McKenna, not Candy Florio or Shannon Amadon. Okay, so was McKenna a forensic person that was at the scene, supervised by Tolbert, and who eventually got it to be tested? We don't know. But a majority of that, I think, could be plausible. Okay. So, let's continue. Hopefully, I made that a little clearer for you. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. So, we have Detective Turvey, who is the criminalist hired by the defense. And we have Christopher Whitcomb, our author, who is talking to him after the fact for the purpose of writing the book, we believe. So now they've gone back and forth over this. Who signed it? What happened? Where'd these people come from? And Turvey says there's a problem with the chain of custody. And Turvey says no matter what else happened, they would be giglioed. Now, attorneys and people, they always talk in names, case names. Miranda, like we talk Miranda. Well, you know, Miranda, you have the right to remain silent. It's from an actual case. Miranda, okay, out of Phoenix, go figure. So they just get referred to by the case citation name. Brady, okay, same thing. Giglio, okay, Giglio versus United States, which expanded Brady mandates regarding disclosure of exculpatory material to the defense, okay? We've talked about this. And Whitcomb keeps referring to Brady disclosure being handed to the state. It requires that prosecutors disclose all information that could impeach the credibility of any witnesses, including police officers. That's why they don't like being on the Brady list. You say that name and they get all kinds of, okay? Now, Giglio, according to Turvey here, anything having to do with someone's character or reliability or integrity is fair game. If you withhold that from the other side, if you lie about their background and don't disclose that up front, that's a Brady violation. Okay? And what this means, says Whitcomb, the defense could request and the judge could grant exclusion of all evidence tainted by any proven violation. Okay? Again, the fruit of the poisonous tree comes in. That's what he's talking about. Now, Turvey says specifically, there's a concept in law enforcement called the Giglio list. This is a list of all the officers who cannot testify because they are known to have given false evidence and testimony. We call it Brady. And Whitcomb says, according to Turvey, this might include everyone on the possibly, and this is his word, falsified K-bar chain of custody form. If any potential falsification was proven, it would render them unable to testify. It might have included Payne, Talbot, and McKenna, regardless of intent or wrongdoing, and there certainly have been no charges here. The defense would have presented this in court. This is Whitcomb speaking. Now, this is a sticker with handwritten names. Nobody's name is on here. I'm not defending anybody. I'm not accusing anybody. But if I didn't say it, if I didn't sign it, I can't say that I touched it or sealed it or passed it on or anything. That's why you use a signature, which the signatures of Almadant and Florio and McKenna are on the top. That's a touch signature. This thing, which our sticker, is a listing, and they didn't sign it. So I don't agree necessarily. I don't know too much about it. We're just reading what we're reading. But I don't necessarily agree with that because they didn't sign it. They didn't sign it. It's not their signature. I'm not going to swear to something where someone just wrote my name down. And remember, they said it was all in one handwriting. Okay? Now, that could be used to try to impeach the officers and get our knife removed. Okay? And remember, the knife is the piece that identifies Kohberger. And if the knife sheath, if that goes with the tip, which if you've listened to and watched my overview, I was going to say critique, my commentary on the defense challenge over the FGG, oh my gosh, his defense attorney, Kohberger's defense attorney, and I can't think of her name, she's trying to get it out. That's why, if you listen to that, she's going methodically, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And she's paying particular attention to, did you have anybody, she says in this part, did you have anybody on the surveillance that you had identified? No. Any cars? No. Any cell phone? No. No. They had no suspects. The thing that led them to Bryan was the sheath and the FGG. Again, why I got involved in this case. Okay? So, okay, so that's why they're saying that this could be a problem. Let's keep going. Okay, and then they're going back and forth in the book, as Whitcomb had said, that Turvey is very passionate. I'm very passionate about my forensic genetic genealogy. I'm not so hung up on this issue. I think there's a plausible reason for it. I don't know what Turvey's background is. I know that I've done a gazillion of these. Okay. Combining old technology, new technology, electronic documentation. Like, I'm not sure. I think we have a plausible answer, but they're going back and forth, back and forth. So, Whitcomb reiterates that chain of custody is taught in police academies. Yes, because it's huge. Because if you don't do it right, your stuff gets thrown out. Your evidence gets thrown out. And what would have happened if Taylor, I think that's her name, if Taylor, Kohberger's defense attorney, if she had gotten that thrown out? And what they call the downstream stuff, if she would have gotten if they couldn't have proved eventual discovery on the car and the cell phone, it'd been gone. Because there's nothing else. Remember, all that blood and all that stuff, there's not a single thing linking him, right? Okay. Very important. Now, he's going down, he's going into it, and again, get the book, read the book, talking about how the DNA on the thumb snap was his word, heralded as the most compelling evidence in this case. If the sheath were found to be corrupted or its lineage in any way uncertain, the DNA could have deemed corrupt as well, fruit of the poisonous tree, okay? And Turvey seems to point out here, let me put this in here because I think this might be interesting. You guys may not know this case, but I'm sure, well, I don't know if you've heard of it. Hold on. Okay, so they're going back, Turvey and Whitcomb are going back and forth about the fact that, all this drama regarding, our bag here. And Turvey says prosecutors seem to have no problem leaving out this information, or they just haven't read it. Turvey claimed, referring specifically to the Kohberger case. And he continues, most people ignore chain of custody these days. Yes, true. But remember the O.J. Simpson case, the blood found on the gate and the glove found behind the house. Johnny Cochran's challenges included chain of custody irregularities that pale by comparison to these. That's what he's saying. That was massive. It's huge here too. So Whitcomb posits, then why was it never mentioned in the Kohberger prosecution? Why did Ann Taylor seem to not take this seriously? Now, Turvey says, I think she took it seriously, but this all happened within the last weeks before the trial. We, meaning him, Turvey, did not discover it until the very end. Once we did, I decided, because of the way this stuff works, that we needed to actually do chain of custody inquiries on every piece of evidence, but it was too late. Kohberger changed his plea less than 1 week after Turvey discovered the issue. And this is what happens. I look at cases and I find things, okay? And you're like, ooh, right? Both prosecution and defense has a responsibility. Whitcomb has talked about the voluminous information, and Ann Taylor was working by herself. It sounded like the criminalist, Sutton, was hired by the prosecution. We don't know when that happened. Towards the end, I believe, if I remember correctly, don't quote me. Turvey got brought in when? Okay, he found it 1 week after. And Turvey, rightfully, in my opinion, said, okay, I think we have a problem here. We need to look at this. Better be safe than sorry. Okay? So, let me show you this part because I don't want to reiterate it, but you need to see it. So, according to the author, I don't agree with this. This is the author's words. According to Whitcomb, Turvey believes that this chain of custody was fabricated. Quote, because when the Idaho State Police got the knife sheath, they went back to the Moscow Police Department and said, there's no chain of custody with this. We need the chain of custody. Now, has he shown us that? I haven't seen that. I'm reading through it as I'm talking to you. I haven't seen that. Did you see that? He's talking about a sticker. Did I miss that? Where is that? I don't see that, okay? And then he says, this is Whitcomb, to underscore the importance of this previously undisclosed potential bombshell, let me tell you, if it's in the evidence, it's the attorney's responsibility to read it. Plain and simple. That's my opinion on that, okay? He says, again, to underscore the importance of this previously undisclosed potential bombshell, we need to restate that not only did ISP lead detective Jeff Talbot file evidence retention reports 3 weeks after the crime, he also apparently never filed a chain of custody at all. Now, what kind of chain of custody is he talking about? Did they have a multi-part form or did they not? Was he supposed to sign? Is there another baby envelope in here? We don't know. What was the policy and procedure? Because in some departments I work with, they just assign an evidence number, a barcode number that goes at the bottom, and there's nothing to sign. It gets the barcode number, and the barcode number goes in the police report. That's it. The only signatures get on the item as they're processing it in the lab. So that's a big allegation there that He continues. Okay, I'm going to put this on here because I'm uncomfortable with this. These are Whitcomb's words. Detective Talbot and his team picked up the K-bar sheath in Mogan's room, placed it in a brown paper bag, sealed the bag with clear plastic tape labeled evidence. Now hold on a second, because didn't it say, hold on, let's go back. Remember that photo that Turvey showed him, the humdinger, the one we started this video with? Here's what Whitcomb says. At this point, Turvey produced a photograph never before disclosed to the public. It depicts a brown paper bag that has been folded flat and sealed with red and white tape labeled evidence. It's hand dated 11/16/2022 and signed by someone who, though difficult to read, appears to be Shannon Amadent. Okay, so it has to be this one. Okay, and he talks about the stickers, right? The white stickers. Okay, now he's saying Detective Talbot and his team picked up the K-bar knife sheath in Mogan's room, placed it in a brown paper bag, and sealed it with clear plastic tape labeled evidence. He apparently did not document the time, place, or even the file number of the case anywhere on the bag. And how do we know this? Because we have a photo of the bag, and we have an email from the ISP crime lab to Detective Talbot saying they cannot process the contents of the bag without a chain of custody documenting its path. Remember, this is the knife scabbard, the foundation of the case against Kohberger, and we have an email from the state police lab, we haven't seen that, to the guy who seized it saying it has no chain of custody attached. So we've got clear tape and we've got red and clear tape. So I'm thinking it started, whether it was in the same bag or they put it in a new bag, because he's describing red and white tape and white tape, clear tape, okay? And then we have the form on it. Okay, so the issue here after all that nonsense is the K-bar sheath was in a brown paper bag sealed with clear plastic tape labeled evidence. It doesn't say anything about a barcode or anything like this. So then they're saying that this thing went, we don't know if it had a barcode on it or not. We don't know whose barcode it is. We need more information. That this went up to ISP. And ISP said, we're not processing it. And then maybe that's when they put the sticker on it. I don't know. Now I'm really confused, but okay. Okay. So he's talking about because we have a photo of the bag and we have the email that they can't process without a chain of custody. Okay. So I don't know if he gave it through a report or verbally or whatever. So if he didn't sign it when he sealed it, I agree. That's a problem. Should have been signed. Okay. We don't know what the SOP is in the department. I always sign, even as I'm giving you my example. I'm initialing it, right? Okay. So we don't know who collected it. Okay, so after all that, this is what he's saying. Okay, so then what would have happened to the case? And let me put what Turvey says here. Okay, so Turvey says, let's make this very clear. And this is Whitcomb saying, that Turvey believes that this is not an issue of possible mishandling of a work product. Quoting Turvey, it is much more serious. And this isn't covered by any non-disclosure agreement between me and Ann Taylor, so we can talk about this all day long. This has nothing to do with my work on the case. The question came up because the defense investigators were looking at this, and I see this chain of custody thing, and I say, what do you think about this chain of custody thing? And they said, holy, this is massive. We didn't catch it the first time. So I said, that's Turvey, what we're going to do is over the next week, we're going to check the chain of custody for every single piece of evidence. 4 days later, the case got shut down. Whitcomb mentions Dr. Turvey has testified as an expert witness in countless high-profile prosecutions throughout the United States and in several foreign countries. His integrity as a forensic scientist has never been besmirched. The case bothers him. So yeah, an envelope, a package with no signature on it. Who took it? I get it. Okay, I get it. Who took it? Who took it? Why didn't they sign it? What are the Moscow PD SOP? Well, we can't even say Moscow PD for that because it's Idaho State Police, right? So, did Payne take it and put it in the thing without the thing? Maybe he assumed that they signed it. I'm not sure. I couldn't find Moscow PD SOP on file, but I can look for the Idaho State Police. So, sorry for a very long and drawn out. I thought we were okay. Now we're not, okay? And it sounds like now there's going to be more. We're still not done with chapter 5 because Turvey and Whitcomb go further. Right? Like I said, they always leave us hanging, and they're going to go further. And we're going to talk about it, okay? Because does it have anything to do with the case being shut down with the plea? I don't know. If there's no, let me rephrase that. If there's no chain of custody, why in God's name would you plead? Did Taylor know that Turvey found this and they were working on it? Did they tell the defendant? I can see why he's troubled. Like the whole thing, this whole case is crazy. Okay, we're going to keep going. Thanks for the support. As always, give me your feedback and we'll keep going. We'll try to understand. We'll try to figure it out. But once again, it's very unclear.